ChangeabilityPro has been going for a few years now. We've got some lovely clients all around the world who are using it. But I wanted to introduce today the second version, if you like, that went live about 2 months ago, and it's got so much more functionality. And this second version was co-created by many of our members around the world and the things that they wanted. So I wanted to demonstrate to you all of these things that we have. So the key thing is that we started the development of Changeability Pro, this idea of a neuro hack, a brain shortcut, which effectively is a video with guidance notes to explain the technique that the video has explained. Depending on the technique, sometimes there's a template for you to use or a checklist, because the whole purpose of having techniques is that we are looking for ways in which we can use this in our own situations. This is not about theoretical learning about change. This is about providing you with solutions to all of the challenges and issues that we face all of the time. After all, when it comes to change, we are trying to trigger the desire, the motivation for somebody to change their ways of working and give up, existing habits and routines and take the risk of doing something different. So all of our work in change, whether we are a line manager who's trying to persuade our team to do things differently, we have to lead ourselves and our team through that transition, or we're on the change side, on the project delivery side, on the program management side, the product ownership side, the portfolio management side. We've all got a role to play, and we all face these issues of pushback. I'll stick with what I know, thanks very much. So these techniques are about how do we create motivation, how do we persuade, how do we inspire, how do we overcome the blockers. So there's a huge amount in this platform which is dedicated to the resistances that we face for change. So video, guidance note, template or checklist. Sometimes it's a workshop activity. So we've actually bothered to think, well, if I was running a workshop in these are some activities that work incredibly well. This is the kind of reaction you get. So we help you with, you don't have to think up everything on your own all of the time. And that's the point. So we started with giving you the answers that we as a community, because I lead the change capability community around the world. So these ideas don't just come from me, they come from tried and tested practice around the world. And we want to make sure that you've got everything you need to do the technique. So sometimes it's a questionnaire. We'll give you the materials to actually play games in your own workshops. And the thing that's really important is we recognize that the situation that we face at work is constantly evolving. And therefore, we make sure that we're coming up with new techniques all the time. So we launch new neuro hacks every 2 weeks. It's an unforgiving schedule for us, but it's really important that we have the latest thinking. So we started the platform with neuro hacks, and we're going to look at AI coaching today. And of course, what the coaching returned was relevant neuro hacks, different neuro hacks for your different situations. And we were quite pleased with that, but we listened to our community. And so 18 months ago, one of the things that our community asked for was, we love the neuro hacks, but we actually want a deep dive into some subjects. So what we thought was, okay, you love the neuro hack format, the video plus the materials to help you do whatever we're talking about. Okay, a masterclass is a different thing. It's usually the equates to a good half to 1 day of training if you were on a training course, because you'll find that there are a number of modules and there are sessions hanging off of every module. So it truly is a deep dive. I'm currently writing the next one that will launch, because we launch these every 3 months. And so we've recently launched one with Nissi, who's talked about the strategic and commercial value of change and how you put yourself across to connect with your stakeholders on a more commercial basis. Before that, I think we have the masterclass for neuroscience for change at work. We've got a big seller in here, the Building Your Change Network. We've got ones on change for non-change managers. change for project managers. And so based on requests from so many, I'm putting together the latest thinking for leading change. It is basically looking at a wider context of how do we encourage senior leaders to take on some of their roles. So I'm looking at creating content that will be suitable for both senior leaders and for those of us who nudge and coach senior leaders. But what we started to do was make sure that when we were having the AI coaching, that we have not just the individual neuro hacks, but we also have the masterclasses. Now, the big shift has been that what we did was, this is our AI coaching. You can ask any question, and we wanted you to get a great answer. And the answers were coming back, which neuro hacks to look at. And we've realized that we need to, in fact, move on, because the world of AI moves on. So we've invested hugely in our own large language model, effectively. And what we've done is we started with the neuro hacks. We added in then all of the content from the masterclasses. And then we've added in all of the content from a huge number of books. I have not put up all of the books that form our large language model. I'm of course not going to tell you all the things that are in that large language model, because otherwise our competitors could easily start to hike things out. But safe to say that what we have built is we've built our own ecosystem of materials that are carefully curated, that we have the copyright for, that are dedicated to change and transformation, that they are the latest thinking, that they reflect the context of multiple simultaneous change that we face at work. And of course, just like we update our ecosystem with new neuro hacks every couple of weeks and new masterclasses every 3 months, we also make sure that we're feeding our ecosystem. So we add in new white papers. I've just written one on the psychological contract and how that perhaps is impacted by multiple simultaneous change. And I'm writing another one at the moment. And in addition, there are webinars where we pick out a particular subject, for example. We also have conference materials and presentations that we put in there. We ask our guest panelists and experts to share with us their own lessons learned. Some of you might have been to some of the webinars that we've done, like with Rachel Sky recently, coming off the front line of change and what she had to say, and the paper that she's written also forms part of our overall ecosystem. And we train our AI coach on this new ecosystem every Sunday night. So once a week are the answers that you get back from the ecosystem is going to be up to date. So, and the critical thing, I think, and this is why we go up against a number of other competitors who I won't name, but one is a big learning provider that many organizations have a contract with, but their materials are very, very much out of date. That's often the thing, because people won't get paid very much for putting their materials on their platform, and so they don't put their latest thinking on there. They just put a same old course on there that they can give you. And of course, the other thing to note about a lot of that training material is that it's very theoretical. It's the what we should be doing. It doesn't give you the how, because I know I'm at the sharp end of coming up with techniques to solve my clients' problems all the time. Working out solutions, working out how to do something. At the very top end of neuroscience, positive psychology, and behavioral science is hard. And therefore, why would you put that into somebody's platform? They'll just give you this is what you should be doing. And it's lovely to get a course sometimes that tells you what you should be doing, and it makes you think, oh, okay, there is a path to follow. But then you go, yeah, but how am I supposed to do it? And if there's nobody around to give you any kind of support, well, where do you go? So we are all about the how, not the what. We are helping you solve your real life problems. There's another platform that is based off one methodology. And so every time you ask it a question, it will come back with all of its things about its methodology, its terminology, and its jargon. which is lovely if you've studied their qualifications. But if you haven't, or more to the point, the people you're working with, of course, haven't, because they don't know anything about change. They just need to make change happen. Then the materials are not that useful. So it's worth thinking about the fact that this is, first of all, a closed loop. So you can rely on the content. It is not like ChatGPT or Claude going to answer your question by throwing itself into the wider internet, which, as we know, ends up with various hallucinations. You have no idea of the quality of the resources that it went and found. So you don't really know the quality of your answer. And I think at the end of the day, what you want in front of you is something that you can rely on. If I'm putting a solution in front of you, you know it's tried and tested, you know it's worked in various change situations. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put it in the platform. And I think that's something that's important, is that whatever answer we get back, that you get something high quality. I'm going to have a bit of a go at showing you how I use the AI coaching tool in ChangeabilityPro now. As I'm switching across to that, has anybody got any comments, any questions, anything that they would like to throw into the mix?
It's Karen here. I'm quite curious to know which AI it's based on.
So it's, I can't do two things at once, I've just noticed. So let me just try and stop the sharing. There we go. And then let me share the screen. So what we use is we use all of our materials are the answers. And then we, of course, have to we have to have a machine readable question. So you ask us any question and we will have to make it machine readable. So at the moment we use ChatGPT. That might not be forever, because it really doesn't matter to us, because we're not going to any of those platforms for the answers. We're just throwing out the question and it comes back in a machine readable form that we then put into our ecosystem. So that's the difference. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great question. Love it. I finally got into ChangeabilityPro. That's good, isn't it? So just to make it easy on you, and just to connect the dots, guys, this is the neurohacks. In here we have a variety of different tabs, for example. We have the neurohacks, we have the masterclasses down here on the left. There's a certifications tab for those who are taking certification based courses. I'm just letting somebody else in. There are a load of resources. All of those resources come off the back of the things that we've put attached to each of the neurohacks. So there's a huge amount of content in here. And then what we have here is the AI coach. You can ask it anything. Now, I'm just looking at the fact that for whatever reason, I'm losing almost all of my internet connection right now. So instead of just putting a question straight away in here, I will just show you that it keeps your chat history here on the right-hand side. I can grab any one of my previous questions. And it's obviously, I'd asked it a question, give me a reason for a senior leader to attend a vision workshop. This gives me an opportunity to talk through the structure of the questions that I get. So here it is, give me a reason for a senior leader to attend a vision workshop. It will give you, first of all now, instead of just giving you a neuro hack and says, hey, watch this, it will give you an answer. It will give you a perspective. And that perspective is drawn from that full ecosystem of white papers and books and articles and webinars. So there's an awful lot in here that's real. It's real live stuff from respected sources, respected experts, everybody that, that we allow to put material on our platform has obviously been heavily evaluated. So here it's talking about one core change truth. If leaders aren't aligned on the destination and don't visibly commit to it, the organization fills the gap with its own interpretations. So that's given you something to think about. Why, it's given a perspective of, if you want to sell the idea of attending a vision workshop to your senior leaders, here's some real food for thought in here. Have a think about these things. This could be quite useful. Yeah. And so it's given you some food for thought, but it's also made those recommendations. So it's given you, well, hang on, you're running a workshop. So can I just put some workshop criteria in front of you? Because then you might find that those success criteria are really helpful, and a bit on a workshop structure. So it's always going to try and answer your question. I've just noticed there's another question here in the chat here where I'd asked it for my team are unsure of the value of the changes. How do I reassure them? And again, what it's given me here is some ideas about reassuring them, surfacing what's sitting underneath the view that there's no value to this change, creating certainty before you try to persuade them, connect the change to things they already care about. So ultimately, you know, it's giving you some really useful answers. And just like any coach, because that is really what this is about. It's about having somebody right in the middle of when you're trying to do something, give you a sensible answer. Because we do work a lot alone. We do need a really good answer to a question, not just, I want to share that I'm really stressed with my friend and hope that they'll say something encouraging. You actually want something quite practical and pragmatic. And I think it's this that we find constantly that the AI search actually gives you. It is we used to talk about it being, you know, your best friend whispering your answer in your ear. And I think there's something there about that that is very, very true. Let me have a look here. What else did we have? Give me talking points there on the right hand side. What did this come up with? What was it talking points about? Oh yes, there we go. There was give me talking points to explain a restructure to my team. So I'd asked it for this, and actually it had come back with a few things, including criteria for change readiness, something, and say it again, checklist, which is a great little idea of how we put information across to get people to really engage with it. So I can ask it any question. Now I'm hoping that I've got enough internet that my call won't drop and that it'll enable me to use Changeability Pro. So has anybody got a question that they would like me to throw into Changeability Pro? And hopefully we'll get some access to the genius that is this platform.
What about something like, I'm a line manager and I'm nervous about getting my team on board with this change. How do I go about that?
On board with the change, please help me get my team on board with the change. Oops, can't. Have you noticed it doesn't matter how you put the question, it doesn't matter what the question is. The first thing that it will do is here you can tell that it's actually coming up with it's repeated the question, so you can see it. And even with my limited, I've got like one bar on the fan, even with my limited access to the internet, it's coming back with an answer. So it did 3 little dots while it was having a think, but it just shows you how incredibly fast it is. Now, what's it come back with? Some of you will find this very difficult to read because it's so tiny on the screen. So when you're a line manager trying to get people on board, you're really doing 2 change jobs at once. You're keeping today's work going and helping people move through the uncertainty and threat response that change naturally triggers. So I don't try to sell the change. I focus on creating enough clarity, safety, and involvement that people can start engaging constructively, because suppressed worries don't disappear. They tend to grow in the background. Wow, that's a great answer, actually. I'm really impressed with that. I like the fact that it's moved us away from trying to just sell to talk about clarity, safety, and involvement. And it's also done a few interesting things here, that it's talked about a guidance note for feel the pain. So there's something there for you to have a look at. It's also thinking about readiness and whether or not people are ready to hear the message. So it's recommended a criteria for change readiness checklist, and there's actually a neuro hack you can watch if you want to. It's given me an activity for identifying concerns about change. So it's giving you an activity that you can apply to your own work. Yeah. And there's also a practical checklist around reassuring those resisting change. So it's given you a full answer. And this is the thing that we've invested in so much, in the whatever the question is, it gives you an answer, but it also, and that might be just enough, to be honest. You might think, I've seen enough, I don't need to go anymore. Or you can then drop down into the materials. Or what I'm going to do is going to build on that question and say, well, actually, what I'm worried about, I am worried, can't spell, that I have a very loud and persuasive talker in my team? How do I make sure everyone can share their views? Because I'm just thinking off the back of that, I've now started, like we all do, we're human, and thinking, well, okay, that was a good answer. And now there's something nagging me, and there's worrying, and there's something really worrying me about actually one of my team members. And I think I really do need to think about that. So what's it telling me? I'm just going to let it come up to the screen here. When one loud, persuasive voice dominates, what's really happening change-wise is the team's sense of making gets skewed in the first. Confident view becomes the default, and others hold back because it doesn't feel safe or worth the effort to disagree. So it's obviously worried about that person, just like I am. And actually, it's given me a great, just by the title, I'm thinking, well, that's a really useful neuro hack. Big personalities are dominating the conversation. And it's given me a checklist that obviously is attached to that. And also it's given me that activity again for identifying concerns about change. So it's just giving me more available resources to answer the question. So whenever I've got an issue now, I can just keep going back and saying, what about this? Or do this for me. I love the fact, if I'm honest, that this tool does my work for me. The way it does my work for me is that, and many of you know me, that I'm a very experienced change professional, but just like everybody else, sometimes I get to my desk in the morning and I just think, oh, I've got to write a workshop. So it might be, give me an agenda for a senior exec benefits workshop for 6 people for 2 hours. And I've no idea what it's going to come up with, but I did say benefits workshop. And I've told it how many people, I've told it how much time. Now, of course, what I'm going to do with that is I could copy and paste whatever it comes up with. And I do, to be honest. And then I add my own sort of, maybe it's a bit more context or a bit more genius, but it gets me started. Yeah. Karen, as far as I'm pulling up the answer.
Is it a kind of tool that you can, some of my team are on this call and they may know this already, so forgive me, I'm a bit behind the curve. Is it the kind of tool that you can add your own collateral to and have a conversation about specific changes happening in your organization? Or
We
is it
don't let you
at
add
the
your own
generic level?
collateral. You don't let you add your own collateral, because then that would just affect the answers for everybody. So what we do is, here I haven't given it much. I've told it I've got 6 people and I've got 2 hours. So I've got my answer, and then of course I can add more context that says, for example, I can sort of say, actually I've got some very reflective learners perhaps, or I've got people who don't like to talk in public. Have we got any sort of one-to-one sort of reflective activities that we could put into this workshop, for example? So I can keep bringing in my own context by
So, like,
just
for
adding it more
example,
questions.
if you had an organizational change and there were organization level benefits, there's kind of greater good benefits about, protecting and growing the organization, but actually there are going to be disbenefits for certain teams or individuals. How might you use it in that context to help frame argumentation or approach to people's, communicating it to people, or hearing their questions and helping overcome their concerns?
Okay, my team are losing the ability to personalize data for customers. This is a genuine disbenefit that I'm dealing with at the moment. How can I persuade them that the organization-wide system that we are giving them, that replaces their own spreadsheets, is a good idea? I have no idea what it will come up with, Karen, but we'll find out. So because I will put in there, I want an argument for a particular pushback that, you know, these are the disbenefits. Come back to me, tell me what it is that we might deal with on that particular situation. So I'm going to ask it specifically about, without naming company names, without getting into people or anything where I'm concerned about the data that I'm sharing. I'm looking at it going, I know that they're going to be worried about this. So it's giving me some specifics on this about acknowledging that loss and recognizing that perhaps they've actually sort of don't accidentally insult their craft. Those spreadsheets have helped us react quickly to customer needs, and you put a lot of effort into getting great customer feedback. That matters, and it's recognized. I think, oh, I mean, I'd hardly told it anything, Karen, and it's come back with something quite tailored to the situation. It also says it's about reframing. We're not trying to stop us being customer centric. We're trying to move personalization from individual heroics in spreadsheets to something we can do consistently, safely, and at scale. Oh, okay, that's a really interesting line of argument. Well, that's really helpful. So that's the sort of thing that I use it for. I'm not going to give away customer data or company information, but I have given it the specific issue that I've got for a particular team. Without naming that team, it's given me an answer that's relevant for them.
It's making me think about, so I put some questions in the chat earlier about not questions to ask the AI coach, but questions for you about how you're developing this and evolving it, because obviously that would be really, you know, lots of organizations would say we don't want to introduce an AI tool where, you know, we will have a closed LLM. We have one, many organizations will, where we can introduce our own collateral and materials and use AI, but it would be a really difficult sell to bring other third-party tools in to do that. But then, of course, the flip side is how valuable could it be for very specific pathways that were tailored for our organization or a different organization around these specific changes and transformations that we are going through. So I'm kind of, you know, my mind is in both of those places when I ask these questions.
Yeah, well, for some organizations, what we can do is we make this tool available, but obviously it's tailored for them. So they can put, they have all of our ecosystem, they have all of our logic, but they have their own version of it. So they put all of their own content in it. So the one I'm demonstrating today is that anybody can get a membership to this, and this is what they can use. But for some of our clients around the world, of course, they pay for some development work so that they have their own, they have their version of Changeability Pro. So they rely on us to provide them with all of the answers, if you like, in terms of great practice and great solutions. But they have got, and it's accessible in different ways depending on which company we're talking about, but they are able to then put their own data in it. So yes, that is something that a number of our clients do. Does that help you, Karen? Okay, she's gone quiet.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. I was
all
on
right.
mute.
No
I was
worries.
typing
No
some
worries.
in the background. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's Claire's put in a more existential risk in the chat. Is it better to have a go at something ourselves and then ask how our work can be improved or anything we've missed, worried we will lose our own critical thinking, judgment skills and rely on if this is used too heavily? Yes, sometimes I want the blank piece of paper in my head to be filled by somebody else. Sometimes I'll sort of say, I've done these things, what else? And so it's always a great question. I can put in there, these are the things I'm going to do. What else would you add to this list? So yes, I think it's always an opportunity to get the coach here to say, what else have I missed? Suggest this. How would you strengthen this? So I always think those are great prompts, Claire. And yes, absolutely. So sometimes it's a blank piece of paper. Sometimes it's, these are the steps I'm going to do. This is the activity I'm going to do. How else would you strengthen this? I can use the tool to do that. So yeah. It's here to help us. At the end of the day, it's that critical friend. It's that source of solutions, very practical solutions that we can use. It's supposed to just save us time. It's supposed to make us better at our jobs. It's supposed to build our confidence and just to help us. So that is Changeability Pro.